This is problem number 82 of the 2012 AP Calculus exam. If f prime of x, the first derivative of f of x, is equal to the square root of x to the fourth plus 1 plus x cubed minus 3x, then f has a local maximum at x equals what value? Now I notice here that I have decimals, and so I know I'm going to use the graphing calculator in just a moment. But let's go ahead and think about what's being asked. It says, where do I have a value at which I have a local maximum? And if I'm going to have a local maximum, then I need the first derivative, the slope of the function, to be 0. And if it's a maximum, I'm going to have something that looks like this, where I'm going to have the slope of the tangent line being positive, then 0, and then negative. So again, that's the first derivative of my function as representing the slope of the tangent line. And so as I go from left to right, it needs to first be positive, then 0, and then negative. All right, so keeping that in mind, we're going to notice that they've already given me the function for the first derivative. So we're going to begin by looking at that graph and determining when is it positive, 0, and negative. And again, let's look at the graph. So turn your calculator on, clear it, go to y equals and clear it. And we're going to again put in that function, and we'll start with the square root of the quantity of x to the fourth plus 1. So, second and square root, and x raised to the fourth power plus 1, close the parentheses, and then we're going to end up having the plus and x cubed, and then minus 3x. And let's go ahead and hit enter and hit graph. Now I had zoomed out on the last problem, so I need to go back to zoom and hit standard, number 6. To get a better idea of what's happening in my graph. I might even zoom in a little bit more. So let's hit zoom and number 2 and hit enter. Much better. All right, and I'm going to pull that off the screen. Let's look at that. Okay, now remember, this is the graph of the first derivative. This is f prime of x. That's the graph for f prime. So we said earlier, if we were looking for a maximum, then I would want a positive, slope of the tangent line being positive, then 0, and then negative. And so here I see I've got the first derivative as being negative. It's below the axis, it's less than 0, and it's negative, and then 0, and then positive. So I would be seeing a negative slope, a 0 slope, a positive slope. That's the minimum. So at this point of intersection of the graph, then I would end up having this minimum. And so that's not the value that I want. Let's look at the next one. This point. I have a point, a section of the graph above, which would end up being positive, then 0. And this section of the graph is negative. So that is what I'm looking for, a positive, a 0, and a negative slope would give me a maximum. And so that's the point that I need. So let's see on the graph what that coordinate would be. And that's going to be our answer. So let's pull up our graphing calculator. And let's look for where that graph intersects the x-axis at that value. So let's pull up second and calculate, and number 2 for 0. And again, we're looking for the one that's just to the right of the y-axis, so we're going to hit enter. and then we're going to take it below and hit enter and bring it back just somewhere close and hit enter. And this is going to be the point at which it's crossing, and that's the point at which we have a relative maximum for our function of f. So let's expand this a little bit, and let's write that answer. X equals 0.35013748. And so if we round that to 3 decimal places, that will be x equals 0.350. And let's go to our answer choices. 0.350 is letter C. And that's our answer.